Isaac Asimov was a science fiction writer. He's responsible for the source material that ultimately became the I, Robot movie. Asimov has been quoted a lot in recent years as having said that there's a cult of ignorance in the United States, that anti-intellectualism runs through our political and cultural lives. Now, Asimov was a bright guy, but I would argue that anti-intellectualism isn't a thread that runs through our lives. It's in fact the fabric of our lives. Now, I acknowledge that the modern world is built to top science and technology. But when it comes to our everyday thinking and decision making, I would argue that anti-intellectualism rules the day. When he was competing against Kamala Harris, the current president went down to our southern border and stood in front of a section of wall that was constructed during his first administration. And he told a story that he has told many, many times. He said to the press that was there, "You guys might have forgotten, but when we first did this, we had the contractors build different sections of wall so we could find the one that worked." And if you remember, that's exactly what he did. Now, sometimes Trump supporters will argue that's just Trump being Trump, he doesn't really mean it, but this is in fact U.S. policy. He said, "And when we found the one that worked, we tested it. We got climbers, we got drug climbers," the president said, "and we had them tested. And they came back and they said, 'Sir, we can't get over this wall.'" However, during his first administration, the president was hosting a rally, and he told a very similar story. And at the end, he said, you can't get over this wall." He said, "Nobody's getting over this big, beautiful wall." Well, not without a ladder. But they wouldn't be able to get down, he said. Well, not without a rope. So the question becomes then, why would he suggest a solution that, frankly, a 5-year-old could tell you won't work and that he has himself acknowledged won't work? And more importantly, why would over 100 million people support it? You know, when Trump supporters come from the polls and they're asked, they say the primary reason for their vote are his policies. Now, if you ask somebody on the left, they're going to tell you, well, Trump's dumb and Trump supporters are dumb. But I'm here to confirm that that is absolutely not true. You know, I'm a psychotherapist, and I can tell you Donald Trump does not have a 75 IQ. He does not have some sort of serious cognitive deficit. I see no evidence of dementia. He's an 80-year-old man who works all the time, doesn't get enough sleep, exercise, proper diet. So you're going to see some of that, but we're not seeing dementia. And in many cases, many instances in his life, his successful life, he has looked directly to experts and the science that they know. And as to the Trump supporter, well, we assess intelligence in relative terms. And there are between, 100 million and 175 million Trump supporters. I can say with certainty that the vast majority of them are intelligent people. That is to say, they have an IQ in the average range somewhere. So why would otherwise intelligent people suggest and then support a policy that we know won't work? And the answer is anti-intellectualism. Now, most of the time, anti-intellectualism is cited as folks having an aversion and opposition to science, seeing it as the evil of the modern world or a tool of the left or of institutions that they don't trust. But it also includes our everyday tendency to discard or discount science. Ask yourself, the last time you were debating something of importance at work, not something of opinion, do you like red or blue, but a matter of fact. Person A stated their position, person B stated their position. And when's the last time you heard person C say, well, why don't we find out? I mean, we have some 15% of the knowledge that mankind has amassed over the centuries available to us online with an AI interface that allows us to question it as if it's this brilliant person. And the vast majority of the time, if AI can't answer the question with the latest science, that is to say, with the truth, it can at the very least inform your inquiry. And most of the time, most people don't even look. Beyond that, when we're presented with science, how often is it that we discount or dismiss it altogether? You know, when I was growing up in the 80s, if somebody was smoking and someone else said to me, yo, man, that's going to kill you. I don't know how many times I heard somebody say, I don't know, man, my friend's grandmother smoked till she was 95. That is to say, we're frequently at the ready to place opinion, conjecture above truth, scientific fact. Now, this isn't to say that we shouldn't have a healthy skepticism for science. We should. In fact, it's baked in. But allowing your opinion to override scientific fact is not the result of healthy skepticism. It's doing what human beings do, which is, despite the fact that we have the ability to be rational, most of the time we make emotional decisions and then use our rational faculties to rationalize those decisions. And I talk about it here because it comes at great, great cost. You know, on the societal level, we can see it. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because it's political and I'm putting this on LinkedIn first. In the workplace, though, it is pronounced in reference to leadership, which I deal with and talk about a lot. Most of the time, most leaders use a weaknesses-based approach. That is to say, they focus on what's wrong, correcting what's wrong, bringing weaknesses up to par. When we know that a strengths-based approach, focusing on what's right, is more advantageous. So often in our lives, we dismiss or discard science, allowing opinion or conjecture or the way that it's always been or what we heard, what we were taught to lead us. And it comes at great, great cost. I would argue it's the biggest problem that mankind faces. You know, we have the means. Science has provided us the means by which we can live healthy lives, live lives with a loving partner, and make enough money to have the life that we want. And yet, most people on the planet will not have these things. And it's due in no small part, it's not the only reason, but it's due in no small part to anti-intellectualism. And I want to share with you, to close this out, a lay person's understanding of science, because I don't think people fully understand what it is. I mean, ask yourself, do you know what it is to say something is true? Do you know what an empirical fact is? Do you know what, or empirical evidence? Do you know what it is to say something is a scientific fact? I don't think most people do. And that costs. For most of the 300,000 years that man has been on the planet, what was true was what you thought, what the smart guy named Socrates over there said. He's got a good story, you know. It was what the clergy said or what the king said, what the emperor said, what the leader said. And then once upon a time, some cat said, well, why don't we look? Let's gather empirical evidence. You know, that's a big word. Empirical means, we can see it. Let's look and see what's so. Beyond that, let's set up experiments. If we can't observe it in the natural world, let's set up an experiment by which we can observe it. And then some even smarter cats came along and said, I can use mathematics to do experiments on stuff that we can't even see. And then we put that into computers and handed it off to AI. And now we are able to say what is true about us and our lives in a great many situations. You know, science is simply, at its core, man trying to find out what is true about us and our world using the most intelligent and objective means. And most of the time, by the time something makes its way to us, it's published in a professional journal that's considered the gold standard of an area of inquiry. Most of the time, by the time it makes its way there, we can have great confidence in it. A healthy skepticism is a good thing, but again, overriding scientific fact with your opinion, that's anti-intellectualism, and that costs. That costs us a lot.